Hello, and thanks for tuning in to this episode of R&R's Ask the Expert. I'm your host, Valerie King, R&R's editor-in-chief, and I'm joined today by a few of the Restoration Industry Association's foremost leaders. That includes Kristy Cohen, RIA CEO, Mark Springer, RIA President, Katie Smith, RIA President-elect, as well as Committee Chair of the Advocacy and Government Affairs Committee, also known as the AGA, and Ed Cross, the AGA's official restoration advocate. Now, for those who aren't familiar, the Restoration Industry Association is the oldest and largest nonprofit professional trade association that's dedicated to providing leadership and promoting best practices through advocacy and professional qualifications for the restoration industry. Of course, a new year often implies new initiatives, so we are grateful to have Kristy, Mark, Katie, and Ed all together to discuss what the RIA has planned for 2022, including, of course, the annual International Restoration Convention and Industry Expo that's set for April in Reno, Nevada. Thank you all for joining me.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for having us.
Absolutely. All right, jumping in, Kristy, could you first briefly talk about what the RIA is and how it serves the restoration industry?
Absolutely. The Restoration Industry Association is the professional trade association for restorers. Our mission is to educate, advocate, and elevate the industry. As you mentioned, Valerie, we've been serving the restoration professional industry for over 75 years now. And our membership represents thousands of cleaning and restoration professionals from member companies across the globe, specializing in all aspects of restoration, from contents to fire damage, water loss, mold, and more. And our association provides a variety of benefits to our members. We offer certifications, resources, and industry best education to elevate the industry, as well as serving as the unified voice of restoration contractors through our advocacy work. We offer professional development, certification, and continuing education. We have our annual industry trade show, the next one coming up, of course, here in April, our virtual fall technical events, and our tremendous advocacy resources. We also have relationships with vendors and offer discounts on equipment and services in the industry. But most importantly, we offer an access to a network of industry professionals who are really committed to excellence in restoration and who are willing to come together collectively to address our industry's biggest challenges. So it's really exciting to be part of RIA, and there's so much that we are offering to the industry as we take leadership going forward.
Thank you, Kristy. Okay, before we talk about this year, if we could look back a little bit at 2021, Mark, I'm curious, what would you say the RIA accomplishments you're most proud of are?
Well, Valerie, first of all, thank you for having us here. It's quite an industry to get yourself up to speed on, and you've done a marvelous job of that.
Thanks.
We're really pleased to be here and be able to talk about RIA today. But as we look back on 2021, it's another year that was fraught with so many challenges as we continue to deal with the environment of a pandemic, global pandemic. Trade associations in the midst of this pandemic have struggled mightily, and I'm so proud of the volunteers and the leadership, the staff that we have at RIA. I think that RIA's staff really shone brightly down at the 75th anniversary convention that we had this past June. To be able to pull off a convention in this environment is no small undertaking, and Kristy and her staff did a remarkable job there for our 75th anniversary. Lots of big things to be excited about there as we were able to talk about what AGA is doing. And I think one of the things that I'm the most proud of is really seeing what I consider to be the maturation of AGA. As we've talked about, AGA was this idea, right before COVID hit us right between the eyes. We had this idea that restorers needed to have a voice. They needed to be able to have a mechanism that could unify the industry around some of the most important issues that we face. There's some pretty strong headwinds that restorers deal with every single day as they try to be able to advance the services that they have on behalf of their customers and with the teams that they have. And we run into these issues with pricing and third-party consultants, third-party administrators, with challenges that the restorer sometimes is ill-equipped to handle on their own. And really, for the first time in the history of the property restoration industry, through AGA, there is a unified voice for contractors. And having several two pricing position papers, pricing position papers are enormous undertakings because Xactimate specifically affects so many of the restoration companies in this industry. And so we had two position papers that went through a multi-step peer review process, and we were able to release those to the public and get them out to all of the industry, and they're making a difference. I have people reach out to me regularly talking about, thank you for what RIA is doing to bring really to the public forefront a lot of these challenges that we face with labor, for example, in pricing. And it's making a big difference for the industry. We've also seen some great strides made in our education. We have a new designation that's right on the verge of being launched, the Environmental Restoration Specialist. I think actually, Kristy, I know that's been a kind of like a working title there. It's like maybe a little different name, but we have really the fourth pillar designation in the total CR redevelopment. This has been an over 10-year process to redevelop the CR. The last pillar is just about to come online. That's been a huge undertaking, and so we're really proud of that. One other thing is just back to the theme of unification. This was such a fragmented industry. But even those in the industry are not saying, they would not describe now as fragmentation being our biggest challenge. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, that was the only challenge we faced. Now we have groups like RIA and IICRC working together on behalf of the restoration industry. We've got, through our enterprise program, we've had companies like Custom Restoration, Blue Sky Restoration, First On Site, jump in and say, you know what? We believe that what RIA is doing is critical to the future of this industry, and we're going to throw in our lot with them. And having that sort of support from the major companies in this industry is unprecedented. And so having that unification, I think, is another thing I would really point to as being one of the things I'm most proud of over the last year.
Thank you, Mark. That really is a meaningful list and serious momentum coming into 2022. High standards to meet in terms of the expectations you've already set. All right, time to talk 2022. I am curious, of course, maybe for starters, what are the RIA's top strategic objectives as an association? Katie?
Awesome. Yeah. So a lot of people ask me what I want to do with RIA, and I always answer that I am just one person of the RIA board. And so in 2020, our board drafted our 3-year strategic plan. And so the 4 cornerstones of that plan are sustainability, advocacy, membership growth and engagement, and elevating the industry. So we are always asking how we can provide more value to our members. And we know that being focused on advocacy is the most important thing we can do for our industry. So later this year, we'll be announcing a revised dues structure that better supports our members and the AGA's initiatives, and it may be more appealing for some companies that have been hesitant to join. We'll hope to unveil that at our convention. We are currently working with the IICRC to develop career pathways for our industry that will help all of us with recruiting and retention efforts, because that's a major pain point for us all. And we'll be working to build consumer awareness on the value of what we do as restorers. And we want to establish ourselves as the professionals that we are. As Mark said, we just celebrated our 75th anniversary, and we want to be around for 75 more years. So there's a lot of work as part of our plan that goes on behind the scenes that ensures that we are a healthy and well-run organization.
Very good. Okay, more on that advocacy topic. Katie, could you talk a little bit more about what the AGA, the Advocacy and Government Affairs Committee, is focused on this year?
Yeah, a lot of work going on with AGA all the time. You're going to see the second edition of our TPA scorecard survey is going to be released very soon. We'll continue to have dialogue with the TPAs. Ed does that on our behalf. We'll always attempt to improve the relationship between TPAs and restorers. We'll be discussing comparative estimates. That's a hot topic right now. The annual financial reporting that goes on with TPAs and restorers, referral fees for jobs obtained outside of the network. Those are all topics that we're talking about all the time. Pricing, that's a big topic for us as well, always. We are going to be in more regular conversation with our industry's pricing platforms. We're also excited to announce that Exactware just conducted the first, beta course for their pricing specialist program just this month. And we are looking forward to seeing that program rolled out soon. That came as a result of the conversations that Mark started having with Exactware 2 years ago. So we're glad to see that come to fruition now. We'll continue to educate restorers on how to affect pricing in their markets. We have more control than we think we do, and we just need to get the word out about how to do that. And then we'll continue to advocate for increased labor rates for our services. We are purchasing legislative monitoring software so we can keep an eye on any changes that may impact our industry, and then we'll deploy resources at a local level to represent the restorer's viewpoint. We're very excited to say that we're going to launch our AGA Academy this year, which will be an LMS platform on the RIA website. So that way you can enroll your staff in classes that will teach them how to use the AGA resources. And then our AGA convention sessions will be stored on that platform as well.
Wow, the theme continues. Ed, can you talk more about advocacy through the lens of the position papers? Mark talked about last year some of those key accomplishments and the big undertakings they are. So curious what we can expect. Are there any upcoming we should be aware of, or recently released position papers contractors should know about?
Sure, I'd be happy to. First off, I want to thank you, Valerie, very much for putting this together and to congratulate you with your success with R&R. You have taken this on with a lot of energy, and I hope your supervisor is listening right now. This is a comment to Valerie's supervisor. She's doing a fantastic job. She had huge shoes to fill, and I got to tell you, when people heard that Michelle Blevins had departed from R&R, there was a concern that R&R was doomed. And it is not doomed at all. It is doing a fantastic job thanks to you. And the industry thanks you for that. So congratulations. And I hope you get a big raise on your next performance review.
Thank you so much, Ed. That means a lot.
We have proudly released our position statement regarding new construction pricing. And for those of you who aren't familiar with it, certain pricing platforms have an option where someone can click a button and it will make a number of adjustments to prices that will cause the price of an estimate to go down based on the assumption that a project should be viewed as if it were new construction. Restoration is not new construction. There are a bunch of important differences between the two. And RIA feels strongly that there should never be any kind of arbitrary reductions of prices. The prices should be determined on a case-by-case basis. And in fact, that's what our friends at Exactware have emphasized, the importance of that. And if you look at the Exactware user license agreement, it gives guidance on that point. We want to thank the people at Exactware for their important feedback and their substantive comments regarding the position paper. And we're excited about that. And there are others that are coming soon. We are busy in the TPA realm. We are busy in the TPC realm. But I think you're going to see some pricing position statements coming up hopefully soon. One issue that I think really needs to get sorted out once and for all is this age-old mess that we've got with regard to the collection of overhead and profit. And in my travels, I find it really striking how difficult it is for people to even agree as to what overhead is and what profit is and when it should be applied and is it contained in line item estimates and when should you add it and when should you not add it. That's something that we're going to be taking a hard look at. And so there's much more to come.
Very good. All right, continuing with 2022 and what's ahead, but switching gears slightly to the certification realm. Kristy, I'm wondering if you could share a little bit more about that environmental restoration specialist new certification that I understand is in the works.
Yes, we are very excited to be releasing a new certification this year. I believe we're going to be settling on environmental risk specialist. That really helps to capture what this certification is all about. And as you know, restoration contractors are often required to work in very high risk scenarios and environments. And so we've developed this new environmental specialist certification program to really provide restorers with an awareness and an understanding of the environmental hazards and risks associated with disaster sites. And so this new certification is the final pillar designation that is being developed under our certified restorer certification, which is really the highest level of mastery and certification for our industry. And so the new certification and training course that we've built is going to cover hazard identification, risk assessment, insurance coverage, and environmental exclusions. It really addresses a wide variety of hazardous substances and materials, including chemical, biological, radiological, and more. And then, of course, we also address report writing best practices when dealing with these types of environmentally risky projects and environments. So we're going to be hosting our beta course in May, and then from there, we'll be ready to launch the first official ERS training course later this year. But I think this is really exciting. A lot of people have been waiting for this certification. There's really nothing like it in the industry. So we're very, very excited to be rolling this out in 2022.
Thank you, Kristy. Yes, exciting indeed. Okay, I asked a little more specific questions, but before we talk about the International Convention and Conference, Mark, anything else in terms of new initiatives for the year ahead that you'd like to share?
We're just going to stack so many initiatives on Katie and the rest of the board. So we've got all kinds more. There's a couple other ones that have been in the works that I think are important to highlight for just a moment. One is, there is a lot of questions that people have about this industry as to what a career pathway looks like. And so we're joining forces with IICRC on really developing a career path so that someone that comes into this industry can really have vision for how this could be more than just a job, but a career. So that's an important initiative that's underway. Another one is AGA is now coming to Canada. So the AGA movement is expanding. We've got a Canadian group that's going to be launching up in Canada here in 2022. So we're excited about seeing AGA spread around the world. As Katie mentioned just a little bit ago, our membership dues structure has been static for quite some time. And we believe that every restoration contractor should belong to RIA, but there's, some financial barriers to that, especially for companies that are smaller or new companies, and we want them to be able to throw their lot in with us. And so we will have a new due structure to announce that should make it very achievable for anyone to be a part of a RIA, whether they're a small company or a very large company. And then the last one that I would say that's exciting, and it will be, I think, really help people connect the dots with RIA in their local areas, is we have regional focus groups that will be launched. One of our board members, Mitch Heitman from First On Site out in Chicago, has put a lot of work into developing a regional approach to how we can engage our members in their regions. We believe that this will help with some of the legislative initiatives that we have that need to be driven to the local levels, as well as some training opportunities at the local level and just member engagement as well. So that's another thing we're really excited about here in 2022.
Wow. Very multidimensional efforts underway. I mean, really just hitting all of the targets in the checklist. It's from certification to advocacy to the government and the regulations to making the association more accessible. That's great news. All right. Time to talk Expo. So about the RIA 2022 International Restoration Convention and Industry Expo. Again, that's taking place April 11th through 13th, and it's going to be at the Peppermill Resort Spa Casino in Reno, Nevada. Katie, could you talk a little bit about who this event is for those who aren't familiar, and why they should attend?
Yeah, sure. It's for restorers who want to build relationships with other restorers and stay up to date on what's happening in our industry. As you can tell, there's a lot going on. People who want to learn about technology and products from our awesome vendors, those that want to grow their business and themselves with first-class content from our keynote and breakout sessions. Our convention planning team is amazing. They've worked really hard to put together a great schedule that's centered on takeaways for attendees. So we have Maura Thomas, who's delivering our keynote. She wrote the book on attention management, and she'll help us manage those distractions that affect our productivity throughout the day. We'll have the leaders from Verisk and CoreLogic on our main stage for Q&A sessions. Very excited to have them joining us this year. Our breakout sessions will focus on topics like recruiting, retention, case studies, technology, and how your systems can grow as your business grows. We're going to have a geospatial scanning side-by-side comparison with Seth Harrison. We'll have some M&A stories to tell, some different viewpoints there. And of course, we'll have our awards and our pinning ceremonies. They'll take place, but we're going to shake up the evening events just a little bit. There's no banquet this year. We're going to have fun. We're going to have an industry party. It's going to be sponsored by Sunbelt Rentals. We anticipate having a full house, so you need to make sure you get registered soon.
Thanks for that. A lot of hot topics being covered and very intriguing guests that I'm sure the industry wants to hear from. So that's good to know. Of course, I have to ask, how can listeners learn more about the event and register? Also, if there are any important deadlines. Kristy, could you help us there?
Sure, absolutely. We're hoping everyone can join us in Reno this year. You can register and check out our full program at convention.restorationindustry.org. The show did sell out last year, as Katie mentioned, so we do want folks to register as soon as possible. Once again, we are offering live streams, so live stream viewing will be available for those that cannot travel in person this year. The deadline for booking your hotel room, you definitely want to make that hotel reservation, be on property so that you can really take advantage of everything the show has to offer, is March 19th, so mark your calendar for that. And then we also have some exciting awards. Folks who have been to our show know and are familiar with our Phoenix Awards, our Contractor Choice Awards. So we have some of those deadlines coming up. Phoenix Awards submission deadline is February 4th. This is a great opportunity for restoration contractors to profile their projects from 2021. We want to hear from you. We want to hear about the projects that you've worked on, and it's just a great way to show the wonderful work that's being done out there in the industry. We also have our new Pete Consigli Educational Scholarship Award, and we'll be honoring a recipient with that, and the deadline for submissions is February 25th. And then lastly, our Contractor's Choice Award. This was a new award that we implemented last year. It's a great way to profile products and services that are innovative in the industry, and the contractors in our industry, the public gets to choose their favorite, and that's the best part. So those deadlines are March 1st to get those submissions in. So we do look forward to seeing everyone. And again, you can find us at convention.restorationindustry.org.
Thanks for the info, Kristy, and we'll be sure to not just link to the event in the show notes, but those awards so you can learn more about them and dive in and nominate someone or some people, more than one person. Okay, before we go, I of course want to ask about your take on key themes in the industry. So first of my last two questions, maybe for Mark and Ed, what top trends do you anticipate in restoration this year?
Well, Valerie, I think that we'll certainly see a continuation of some of the trends that we've seen in the last year or so, and that is the merger and acquisition market continues to be quite hot. It seems that, I suppose, just from even your vantage point, you're making a new or putting a new announcement in the R&R about
Oh
every
my gosh,
couple of
yes.
days. So that market will continue to be hot, I think, through the rest of 2022. It might be there's a number of catalysts that could impact that slowing down. I mean, interest rates may have an impact on that as leverage looks less attractive in the future to some of these deals, and or changes in tax rates could affect that. But in the meantime, until those changes happen, I think we'll continue to see more consolidation, mergers and acquisitions in the industry. And then the second is the just ongoing importance and call it a competitive differentiator for restoration companies in the area of employee engagement and retention. There is such a war for talent. I think most restoration companies are aware that the most important thing that I can do to protect my bottom line is to make sure that I retain the talent that I have now and invest in that talent. I know in our organization, yesterday we had a leadership development course for leaders across our region to be able to invest in them and help them improve themselves as leaders. So I think more and more of that will be essential for companies to be differentiated in their marketplace.
Very good. Awesome. Ed, would you like to add anything to that?
Sure, yeah. So there's a lot of different things going on right now. One thing that restorers need to be careful about to avoid being accused of engaging in public adjusting is not to hold themselves out as negotiators of insurance claims. And one of the big things that I've been trying to encourage everybody to do is to stay in their own lanes. The insurance company has a lane, the restoration contractor has a lane, the owner has a lane. If everybody would just stay in their lanes, things would be good. So, as a restoration contractor, your job is to restore the property. You're not a public adjuster. A public adjuster is somebody who is representing a policyholder and engaging in negotiations on an insurance claim. So, don't advertise that you're going to be negotiating with an insurance company. I think that we are going to see some big news. I have good reason to believe there's going to be some big news coming out to level the playing field between the restoration industry and the insurance industry that comes out of some of the insurance bad faith litigation that's currently pending. And there are some restorers who have decided enough is enough already. They have assignments of insurance rights. They are suing insurance companies to try to stop some of the unfair practices. And the important reason for this is because the policyholders, by and large, don't have the time, money, energy, or acumen to pursue those claims on their own. A restoration contractor is better equipped to do that. So that's the bad faith part of it. There's another issue that is being discussed more and more lately, which is tortious interference. That comes in a couple of different categories. Somebody can interfere with a contract that you have already in place. Somebody could interfere with a business relationship you have that could ripen into a contract at some point in the future. If they're aware of that contract or aware of that relationship and they engage in disruptive contact or disruptive conduct, depending on the laws of your particular state, they may have liability for doing that. And we need to push back against some of these few bad actors who are engaged in that sort of stuff. So stay tuned. There's lots coming.
Yes, absolutely. We intend to cover all of this as the year goes on and beyond 2022 and help you all understand what it means for you as a business owner or a technician, even. Thank you all for this great interview. It's been very informative. And again, the momentum is impressive. I have a lot of work under my belt just to keep up with what RIA has in store.
Thank you
Thank you,
so much,
Valerie.
Valerie. This
Thank
was
you,
great.
Valerie.
We really appreciate the opportunity and all of your continued support of RIA.
Absolutely happy to cover how you're advocating for the industry and providing very valuable resources. Before we go, the big question, where can listeners go to learn about the RIA?
We welcome everyone. Please check out our website, which is restorationindustry.org. And certainly we are on all social media channels. So we have our LinkedIn page, our Facebook page. Please follow us on social. There's always something coming up, and you have some great video content to check out with all of our RA folks, Mr. Springer, Mr. Cross, Ms. Smith, talking about what's happening in the industry. So it's a great way to stay informed, and we appreciate it.
Perfect. Well, I look forward to seeing you all at the convention and expo in April, if not before that. We are thrilled, I must plug, to once again present the R&R Women in Restoration Award there. And shout out to Katie, who was last year, that's 2021's winner. It'll be exciting to see who takes the award this year. But other than that, listeners, for more insights on restoration, remediation, and the people behind it all, visit our website, randrmagonline.com, also Apple, Spotify, or YouTube. And if you haven't yet, please be sure to follow the podcast because that's how you'll keep up with all of our latest episodes. And if you could give us a quick review and rating, we would so appreciate it. We're also on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook, so we invite you to follow us there too. This has been R&R's Ask the Expert. Thank you as always for listening.